and I was 19 years old, and I fell into this incredible situation with Burt Bacharach and Hal David, and Dionne Warwick were just starting out. Carole King and Jerry Goffin were just starting out. We had two writers in the other office that that had never written a hit yet, that turned out to be Valerie Simpson and Nick Ashford. So it was we all kind of grew up together. And then Barry Mann and Cynthia Wilde, that whole Brill Building scene, So I was head of A&R, and I ultimately became vice president of A&R. And I used to put those, and I was signed to B.J. Thomas and put him together with Burt Bacharach and Hal David. And that song almost didn't make the movie.
Now, A&R is artisan repertoire, and that means pairing the right person with the right song. Of course, today that's no longer the case because people write their own songs in most cases. But what makes for a good producer? Is it a matter of hearing that this artist will do well with this song? Is it a matter of, coming up with the right kind of instrumentation behind it?
Some of that. I always compare a record producer to the director of a film, We have basically the same roles. Someone wrote the script maybe, and there's an actor there, and your job is to get the performance. Most recently, my work has been with Rod Stewart. And
so you're still producing?
Oh yeah, I produced Rod's new album, Songbook, which is doing very well for him all over the world. And when I made this album, A New Standard, the one that I'm playing at the Carlyle, it was kind of like an accident. I mean, I had sung those songs in Father of the Bride, and people started saying to me, you should make an album of standards. And I thought, who would buy it?
Well, with Rod Stewart, you have an album of different kinds of standards, which is rock standards. And since you were a producer of rock and pop and country, I would have thought that that's where you would have gone.
Well, I would have that's what I always did, But when I sang "The Way You Look Tonight" in "Father of the Bride," I was working on
that was 1991.
Yeah, I was working on that movie as a producer, music producer, and I had worked on many movies and many television shows, and they'd hire me to do the music in the movies and whatever. So I asked the director, what do you want your band to play at the reception? And what kind of band do you want? Like a bar mitzvah band or, like a disco? You can have any kind of band in a wedding reception. And they said they didn't know what kind of band, but they wanted those great words of Dorothy Fields over the scene when Steve Martin saw his daughter dancing with her husband for the first time. And so Frank Sinatra's version of "The Way You Look Tonight" was a swinging one, Mm-hmm. So I went in and made this version that ultimately ended up being in the movie, and I didn't know who was going to sing it, so I put a scratch vocal track on, and they all loved it, and they put me in the movie. And the next thing you know, it just kind of changed my life. People started telling me I should make standards albums, and I finally did.
Well, you mentioned that Dorothy Fields wrote that wonderful lyric to "The Way You Look Tonight." She wrote a lot of great lyrics. Is it the lyric that grabs you first?
In those songs, there's a magic in the Great American Songbook, that somehow blends incredible romantic lyrics with wonderful harmonic chords and music. I mean, Jerome Kern, let's face it, wrote the music. We got to tip our hat to him too, But Dorothy Fields was, there's something about someday when I'm awfully low and the world is cold, I will feel a glow. Just,
thinking of you.
Yeah, thinking
the way
of
you
the
look
way
tonight.
You look tonight. Yeah, I mean that's fantastic poetry, And she's that song changed my life. It changed everybody's life because ultimately I didn't make an album. I was offered to make an album after the Father of the Bride movie, and I thought, who would buy one of my albums, And then when I did the second movie, we did The Simple Life, which is what you opened with. That was the opening titles of Father of the Bride 2, and then The Sunny Side of the Street was the end credits. That's another Dorothy Fields and Jimmy McHugh song. And the the great Ahmet Ertegun, gave me a record deal and said, make an album, I'll put it out, and I did.
And it was called A New Standard.
Mm-hmm.
One of the problems in dealing with standards is that we often associate them with the people who originally recorded them, and we hear that in the back of our heads. It's sometimes difficult making a song your own, isn't it?
I don't find it that way at all, honestly. I mean, I think that's what makes the Great American Songbook so fantastic, is that those songs somehow allow each artist to put his personality into those songs and make them new again. And I don't believe in copying. Like, why would I want to do The Way You Look Tonight like Frank Sinatra did? He already did it fantastically.
And there are enough people who do copy Frank
Yeah,
Sinatra.
and that's why, so I just did the songs like I heard them for the first time. And it seems to have worked for me. I try to make them new again. I think the people ask me what makes a standard, and I think what makes a standard called a standard is that you can love 25 versions of these songs. You can love 100 versions. They've been around 70 years. Where the pop songs that I came up with, there's usually one good version.
Right, and we associate a Stevie Wonder song with Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, you don't want to hear, and even Bridge Over Troubled Waters, which was a great song. After Simon and Garfunkel, who you want to hear sing it? Or Elton John's Your Song. These songs, you can love Tony Bennett's version, Harry Connick's version, Norah Jones's version, Rod Stewart's, mine. You can love 25 or 50 versions of the same song. Ella's, Billie Holiday.